Hello, my name is Chad Ragsdale, and I'd like to welcome you to this study on Christian convictions, discerning the essential, important, and personal elements of our faith. I'm glad that you've decided to join us. This whole project for me was born out of an experience that I had as a junior high schooler in camp. I must have been around the age of 13. And I went to camp that summer and had a great time, as I always did at camp, hanging out with my friends, making memories, but also growing significantly in my faith over the course of the week, being challenged by scripture, being challenged by some of the things that were said by various speakers at that week. And I remember towards the end of the week going up to my dad, who was also the dean of that week, going up to my dad after a campfire service and just having a really deep spiritual conversation with him like I'd never had before. And I was dealing with some anxiety. I was dealing with some questions in regards to my faith, in regards to even my salvation. And my concern was, like a lot of kids that grew up in the church, I had been baptized when I was very young. And as I was entering into junior high, I developed some concerns that maybe I didn't know enough. Maybe I wasn't informed enough in regards to what it meant to follow Jesus when I decided to get baptized. And did I, in fact, need to get baptized again? Maybe my first baptism wasn't effective, or it didn't take, or just all those questions kind of going through my mind. And my dad very patiently listened to me and offered two responses. The first response that he offered to me was actually just encouraging me in my questions. He told me, he said, Chad, if you haven't grown between the time that you were baptized and right now, then actually that's a problem with your faith. That signals a problem with your growth. It signals a problem with your discipleship. We should always be learning new things. We should always be growing in our commitment to Jesus and in our knowledge of Christ, our knowledge of Scripture. Like that's a natural part of discipleship. If you're not growing, then you're dying. And he said, I'm a grown man, and every year I learn more things about who Jesus is and about what it means to be his follower. And so he affirmed me actually in that moment in some of the questions that I was asking. And that was extremely helpful to me in that moment, kind of set some of my anxieties at ease, that this is what it means to grow in our faith. But the second thing that he did, which was really helpful, was he just reaffirmed to me the essentials of belief, the essentials of faith. And he just went through some of these basic elements of the faith and just asked me, do you still believe these things? These things that you affirmed when you were baptized, are these things that you still affirm today? And we just went through the list and everything on the list. I say, yes, of course, I affirm those things. And what he was teaching me in that moment, although I didn't realize it at the time, is he was teaching me discernment. He was teaching me to discern the essentials of my faith from these other things that are very important and these things that I was learning and growing in, but to know the difference between an essential and something that is just very important. And that's really what this project is about. This is what this book is about. It's about discerning the difference between the essential elements of our faith, the important elements of our faith, and then these other things over here, which are personal convictions or personal elements of our faith. And so in the first chapter of the book, we're going to answer the question, does it really matter what we believe at all? Do beliefs matter? And so we're going to try to dispel this notion that it doesn't really matter at all what we believe. And we're going to affirm that no, it does matter what we believe, and there are essentials that we ought to believe in order to be saved, that we need to believe in order to be saved. And then the next chapter, we're going to talk about, how do we identify then the differences between essential, important, and personal elements of the faith. After we do that, in the next chapter, we're going to outline what are those essential elements of our faith. We're just going to try to be as clear as we possibly can, grounded in Scripture. What are those essential elements of our faith? And then the next chapter, then we're going to deal with the important elements of our faith. elements that are important but maybe not necessarily essential, and how do we deal with those important elements of our faith. And then the last chapter, we're going to discuss how do we treat others who might disagree with us, especially on those personal elements of our faith. How do we navigate those types of disagreements and those types of relationships? So again, I thank you for joining us in this study. God bless.